What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to From the Bench Vols. I'm your host, Will Meadows, and welcome to our Friday edition of the show, where we are going to be joined by our special guest, Eric Kane, host of Locked On Vols. We are going to answer the questions that you guys asked us over on the Instagram story. If you don't follow the Instagram already, make sure you guys go give that a follow. It's listed right here below my name, From the Bench Vols. And while you're at it, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, do whatever you'd like to do with this video. Engage in it in some way. I would greatly appreciate it. And without further ado, here's Eric Kane. All right, everybody, and welcome on Locked On Vols, Eric Kane onto the show. Eric, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Eric's been on the show a few times, so he kind of knows the drill, but we switched it up a little bit. I asked you guys to ask us some questions that we can answer for you guys. We asked them on the Instagram story. If you guys aren't followed to the Instagram, go ahead and follow that. It's From the Bench Vols. Pretty simple. Again, we got your guys' opinion. I narrowed it down to a few. Some of them go hand in hand, You know the drill. So we're just going to go kind of bounce off of each other, answer your guys' questions. And we'll start with the guy who asked our very first question. And we all saw Diego Pavia's remarks on his little podcast about Vanderbilt and just the universities as a whole. How do you feel about Diego Pavia's remarks? And will Vandy ever be better than Tennessee?
Well, first of all, it's not his little podcast. It's the Bussin' with the Boys
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
Big fan. Used to be a tier one. I'm not a tier one much anymore. But no, I heard the comments and like I separated as a college football fan, this is awesome. I mean, like you got Vanderbilt calling out Tennessee, you got Vanderbilt calling out. I mean, he said a bunch of crap about the Big Ten as well. Like that's awesome. Plus, I mean, the Diego Pavia story to begin with is incredible, right? I mean, whether he should play another year or not, just the fact that JUCO a couple of years, New Mexico State a couple of years, Vanderbilt, knocking off Alabama, taking Texas to the wire and all that, had a really good season. So I love it for college football. I love it for college football in the month of June. From a Tennessee perspective, it's just funny. I mean, obviously it's hysterically inaccurate. That's never going to happen. Tennessee will always be the state school. Tennessee's got a history. Vanderbilt has no history. I went back and looked at like the last 6 recruiting classes, not for Lee, but just for Vanderbilt in total. And, right now they're 43rd in the country. Last year they were 72nd. 24, they were 39th. 23rd, 23, they were 52nd. 22, they were 34th. 21, they were 56th. And 2020, they were 54th in the country. So the best year recruiting they've ever had in the last 6 years, short sample size, but it's not much better. It's 34th in the country. Yeah. So nothing about running the state of Tennessee is reflected in those recruiting rankings. NIL is a thing, and they've got some money, okay? But, I mean, it's just I thought it was hysterical, and I thought it was hilarious from a Tennessee's perspective because nobody's like, Nashville's cool. I don't think the overwhelming majority of Tennessee residents who moved here are coming here for Nashville specifically.
Yeah. I'm kind of like you. I think for the sport, it's good. Me personally, my show knows it. I know a lot of people, and I feel like yourself, you're kind of high on Diego Pavia. I'm part of the crowd that is just think he's very overrated. I know he's fun to watch, and I think you're right. He's a fun character. I think if he was a guy in the Big Ten or at some other school other than Vanderbilt, even at like a Missouri, I think I'd like him a lot. But him being from a Vanderbilt, it's hard for me to get around it. But you're right. I just think it was more funny than anything. And you're in the month of June, it's for clicks and it gets some engagement just because there's not a ton going on. That for current players, obviously there's some recruiting going on, but there's just not a lot going on right now. So I'm kind of like you. I thought it was kind of a dumb comment, dumb few comments, good for the sport, but just as a Tennessee fan, it's kind of laughable.
I'm sure Clark Lee didn't like him, but think about this too. I mean, in that, I haven't listened to the entire thing. I've read a bunch of stuff. I'm going to go listen to the entire episode so I can get some even more context. But I mean, he said in there, we expect to win the national championship. We're going to be really upset if we don't win the national championship. I mean, dude, I understand. I mean, you're a competitor. You're a basketball player. I used to play ball. We've been in the locker rooms. There's self-belief and self-confidence and all that. That's great. But I mean, nobody in that locker room at Vanderbilt truly thinks that Vanderbilt is going to win a national championship this year. So that was kind of funny. But again, Pavia, he probably knows hey, I got nothing to lose, right? I mean, we're Vanderbilt. So let's just say all that stuff. And he's got a little bit of credibility to where he's backed some of it up a little bit. So he is he's certainly not Johnny Manziel. And I'm not trying to say he's Johnny Manziel, but a type of character.
No, yeah.
That's really not to the magnitude, but just great in college And then like this is why he's trying so hard to stay in college. The Kai Ziegler who can go overseas, and basketball is different than football money wise. You can go overseas and make a good living, but like Kai Ziegler doesn't have an NBA future in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you're trying to stay in school and maximize what you can make and try to keep on playing. That's what Pavia is doing. So I don't know. I just again the whole thing about running the state of Tennessee was hilarious. Like Vanderbilt's never going to be better than Tennessee, and across the athletic board, specifically football.
Yeah, I was about to say across the whole scheme of things. Obviously, in baseball, they're pretty solid every year in and year out, but just the whole athletic department as a whole, it was just kind of funny. But then, kind of as I just spoke on Vanderbilt's baseball, kind of move into a baseball aspect of thing. Somebody asked, "Do you think SEMO will be a star in the show, and if so, how soon?" What's your take on that?
I mean, I'm not going to count Christian Moore out. Not that anybody was really counting him out to begin with. I mean, he was a highly rated prospect in Tennessee. Tony and his staff had to work to get him and some of those other guys, Burke to campus as freshmen. And those two guys kind of were in part-time roles as freshmen. And I mean, you saw the impact they had back in 2022, and then they took on a starting role in 2023 and just kind
Yeah,
of grew. And then, man, Semo, like he was always good, don't get me wrong, but just took off that senior year. And I mean, he's built his frame, his stature, like he's compact, but he's fast, he's athletic, he's got a lot of strength, he's got a lot of athleticism, and like you can't be a star based on confidence alone, but those guys got to have some dog in you. You got to have some
yeah,
belief in you that nobody's better than you, and that's who Christian Moore is. So like I think that carries him and that fuels him. I mean, I go back to the College World Series game, that first game last year when Tennessee was playing Florida State and it was in the ninth inning or whatever inning it was, whenever Tennessee came back and walked it off. And he's down to his last strike and he turns to the dugout. He's like, "Hey, let's fight together." Like,
yeah.
that's awesome. So anyway, he's got all the tools, off to a decent start. Made a couple plays in the field, and though he had that triple there, against the diving Aaron Judge in Yankee Stadium, which is probably such a great and surreal feeling for him and his family. He grew up in Brooklyn, right? And I
Yeah,
mean,
and for a first
doing
hit.
that in Yankee Stadium. So I'm excited for him. I mean, it's obviously going to be adjustment. Baseball's a game of slumps and all that, and so we'll see how it is. But would not shock me whatsoever that in a couple of years of Christian Moore is an All Star because he's been the dude everywhere he's been, and he flew through the minors, and now he's in the show.
Yeah, and that's what kind of one of your later remarks there. That's exactly what I was going to say. All the tools in the world. I mean, like you said, flew through the minors, but he just has all the tools. And again, I kind of completely agree. Like his demeanor as a whole, it's hard not to say that he would be just because of, like you said, he's been the guy everywhere he's been. So, me personally, I do think Simo is going to be a star in the show. I don't pay attention too much to the MLB, especially the Angels. I really only watch the Braves if they're on, and then the
Yeah.
Red Sox as well. But yeah, in my opinion, it'd be hard to bet against Simo in any form of being a star wherever he's at, because that's what he's been his whole baseball career, is what it seems like. And then we've got the most kind of talked about thing of the off season. I feel like I talk about it all the time. This was probably half of our questions, which is not a bad thing. You guys keep asking your questions, but it's how do you feel about the QB situation? And then kind of hand in hand with that, are we hearing anything about Joey Aguilar on campus with the team or really anything in general?
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest question of the offseason. There's a lot of questions, a lot of unprovens about this team right now, and a lot of people want to compare it to Josh Heupel's when he first took the job heading into his first season, and yeah, there's a lot of questions in that regard, but like the roster itself is just so much better now than
Yeah.
what he inherited. But yeah, I mean, anytime you don't know who your quarterback is, there's a quarterback competition, quarterback controversy, whatever. I mean, that's going to dominate all the conversations. So, Joey Aguilar got here. I want to say about a month ago.
Yeah.
There was because of classes, he was App State, then transferred to UCLA, and he was still taking online classes at App State, but had to get, finagle all that around to get here to Tennessee. And I mean, it was kind of an ordeal, but he was able to get to campus about a month before we thought that he would, which was fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no practice right now, or maybe a couple weeks, maybe not a month, but there's no official practice right now. And there's, coaches can't be out there coaching you up and everything, but he can go out there and throw with his receivers. He can go out there and kind of go through run fits and all that with his running backs, his offensive line, and he can be in the film room. He can be in the film room watching tape and going over the playbook and all that with his coaches. And so he has been maximizing all this time the last month and this summer doing all that. I think when he first got here, it was like leading into Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
And so like even the guys that stayed during the month of May, like, went home to see their family. And like, it was just him. And so I think he really took advantage of that time with the coaches for like that week, and then more and more players started to get back on campus. So hearing good things. I mean, he's a veteran of the game. He's played a lot of football. He's not played at this level. Recognize that. He threw a ton of picks. Recognize that. But it's not a guy that's not been on the battlefield in terms of football games. So you just try to take that experience, put it into this system, and it's a system that is, I don't want to call it quarterback friendly because I think that's unfair because you have to be able to process information at such a high clip and make quick decisions, but it's quick read throw, a lot of the
Yeah.
times. And I think that's going to benefit him. So hearing good things, right? But again, we're not going to truly know until we see him out there in pads running that offense in fall camp and we'll see what happens. I mean, personally, I think he's going to be the quarterback for Tennessee this year. There's a lot of people that think it might be Jake Merklinger, and it's no discredit to him. I just think I understand he's been here and he has a year in the system and all that, and he's very talented. Had a good spring, Jake did, and
Yeah.
we were talking about that even when Nico was here. Um, but I just think experience talks, and he's played a ton of football. And so I think that's going to be the edge for him in fall camp. What do you think, Will? Do you think Joey Aguilar is going to be the quarterback for Tennessee?
I do. When on our last episode, we had a little during the summer record prediction and season prediction for the Vols. And before I started it, I said I'm predicting every game as if Joey Aguilar is your quarterback. That just because that's kind of what I believe is going to happen. I'm with you. Yes, a year more in the system for Merklinger definitely helps him, but I mean, experience on the football field. It doesn't matter if it's against the Sun Belt, against the ACC, against the SEC. I mean, it matters, but to an extent. I mean,
Yeah.
the way you play obviously matters, but snaps, in-game snaps with meaningful games and under his belt and all the things, it's just hard to say that it's not going to be Aguilar. And it seems like a lot of the national media believes that it's going to be Aguilar. Obviously, the only people that have a true understanding is people who's behind closed doors. We can only make such an assumption and a prediction with all things. But you're right. I wouldn't call it quarterback friendly, but it definitely helps the quarterback. I don't think it's Josh Heupel's offense helps quarterbacks become better. I don't think that people are a product of his offense, if that makes sense. Like you're right, you still have to be able to make the read. It's not like me or you could go out there and play quarterback and it just flow through us. Like you still got to be a guy, and we've
Yeah.
seen that. I mean, sometimes you're better, sometimes you're worse. I mean, Hendon Hooker was a lot better than Joe Milton or a Nico Iamaleava. Yes, they were both limited on turnovers, but a lot of that has to do with the offense, but you got to be a better guy. I mean, there's a reason Hendon Hooker should have been. I know you talked about this on one of your shows prior. Should have absolutely disgraceful that he was not in New York for Heisman, but should have been a Heisman guy. And I'm not saying that Joey Aguilar is going to end up in New York by the end of the year, but I think that this offense is really going to benefit him. App State runs a very pro style offense where he's making a lot of reads and he's a gunslinger. I mean, he's going to try and fit it through tight holes. If the guy can connect on the deep ball, I don't see how he can't be successful. I mean, last year, you've talked about it before, Nico Iamaleava was a part of the playoff team. Me and you both, like, there's Vol fans all around the world that a week before before he left was saying that he's going to be a Heisman, and a week after he's gone, we weren't there because of him and he was never any good. I mean, me and you aren't blind to that. Did we get to the college football playoff because of him? No. I think if he played a lot better, then we would have had a lot better chance to have gone farther. If he was ever what we thought would have been. But I mean, there was just so many plays during the season and down the stretch that were left on the field, man. Just deep balls just couldn't be connected. And that's when even though it's been kind of rough the last year or two, when you think Josh Heupel offense, you think a big play. Whether it's on the ground or it's in the air. I think if Joey Aguilar can just cut those turnovers in half, even, which kind of sounds like a lot, but with Josh Heupel's offense, I think it's very doable. And if he can connect on a long ball or two a game, that this offense is going to be just fine, if not better than what it was last year.
Go turn on the tape. Go look at the crap. Trying to pull up the schedule here. I hate the UT Sports website, like the schedule, because it's so clicker friendly. Anyway,
Oh
go
yeah.
go pull up the schedule. Go look at the Florida game first and foremost. The Florida game, there was so much left on the field. And
Oh
I'm not gonna say Nico was perfect, but it was the receivers for the most part. I mean, just off the route, drops, whatever it is. I mean, there was I mean, it wasn't Like turn on the tape and you want to say Josh Heupel's system's broken, turn on the tape. I mean, receivers running wide open and just
Yeah.
not connecting. In the Alabama game, specifically the one that sticks out to me, I know there's other ones, but the Alabama game, man, Nico missed on so many more. There could have been so much more on the table as well. He had a big time throw on a sprint out to Dante Thornton there to kind of set up a touchdown, which was massive. But any you want to spin it, yeah, I mean, like, was he? I know this is really a Nico segment, but did he live up to the hype his first year as a starting quarterback? No. Was he a complete bust? No. I mean, I think he would have been better in year 2 and all that. We'll see what he is at UCLA. But Josh Heupel has worked with different quarterbacks. Nico was different than Joe. Joe was different than Hendon. Drew Lock was different than Hendon Hooker and Dylan Gabriel and McKenzie and all the other quarterbacks he
Yeah,
finished his
yeah,
career. That's something that really stood out to me when they took the job. And I think it was Joey Halsley that was talking. He was like, it was his first press conference. He's like, we've had big guys, we've had fast guys, we've had slow guys. It doesn't matter the body type. They just have to be able to process information at a fast clip. So during the NFL draft, like everybody's dogging Heupel's offense. I'm like, what's the dog about leading the
yeah,
nation in points and yards per game and all this type of stuff? Like, I don't know. I don't quite get that argument, but nonetheless, I do think in terms of Aguilar, you've heard all the good things. You've heard good things and about him putting in the work and everything, but uh, you know nobody's ever had a bad offseason. Nobody's not worked
yeah, yeah,
hard. Nobody's not gotten bigger, faster, stronger. We'll see in fall camp. I expect Joey Aguilar to be the quarterback, and with a good run game and a good defense, which is what Tennessee was last year. A
yeah.
quarterback that I don't want to say mediocre, but a quarterback that is not an all-star can still take you a long way.
For sure. And kind of like you were talking about with the Florida game, and I know this was a Joey Aguilar question, but there's a lot of other things around this offense that can be improved. There's no doubt how good Dylan Sampson was last year. I'm not saying Deshaun Bishop or Peyton Lewis is going to be as good as Dylan Sampson, but I think they can be close to as a 1-2 punch. Like I think that run game is going to be just fine. I think our offensive line, I know you talked about it on your last episode. Our offensive line will be better, in my opinion. I think your tackles are more improved. Lance Hurd has another year under those feet have got to get quicker. I talk about that once a week, I feel like. But David Sanders was the #1 offensive tackle in the country for a reason. Wendell Moy is going to be a very good guard, in my opinion. And then Sam Peddleton, all those guys. Like, I just feel like this offensive line is going to be more complete. That offensive line was very questionable at times in the first half. I know everybody talks about the scoreless first halves, but just down the stretch in games in general. And then your receivers. I talked about it a ton during the football season. It was so hard to watch those receivers at some points last year. Just couldn't. It didn't look like they could get open on me or you. They just their feet weren't moving near as quick as you'd like, or getting off the line fast enough, or just creating separation in general. And your best guy, Dante Thornton, who was your deep threat, he just didn't get as many snaps as a wide receiver one would normally. And so that the receiver room has got to be better too. I'm as high on Mike Matthews as anybody possibly could be, but I think this receiver room has a lot of room for improvement. So I say all that to say, yes, Aguilar is the big question. But if everything around him can continue to get better, it's going to be hard for him not to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, again, I go back to you were 10-3 last year, and you had some amazing, Dylan Sampson, James Pierce, big moments from Nico, points in time to help Tennessee win some big time games. But like for the most part, you wrote a great defense, you had a great run game, and that was that. And so, I mean, at the simplest of terms, that's why, like, from a national perspective, you see, like, oh, Tennessee lost this guy, Nico left at the end of spring, Tennessee screwed, all this stuff. And I'm just like, I have faith Tennessee's going to run the football because Tennessee has ran for over 2,500 yards every year Josh Heupel's been here. Tennessee nearly broke the record last year for most rushing yards in a single season in Tennessee history.
Yeah.
Imagine if that offensive line last year that was battered and bruised, they were banged up all year long. If they could just pass block, how much better it could have been. But
Yeah.
I think the receiver room's a wash. Like you lose all that. But like outside of Dante Thornton, man, what a disappointing room last year. It's unfortunate. Dante Thornton, I just wish he could stay healthy. Like he just
Yeah.
barely played. But I think it's kind of a wash. I mean, sure, there is no experience coming back, or no production, I guess, coming back.
Yeah.
But Mike Matthews could be wide receiver one. Chris Browse will hopefully take that Dante Thornton step. And I like Braylon Staley a lot. And we'll just see what happens. So, like, at minimum, I guess what I'm trying to say is last year, Tennessee was a great defense, a good run game, and a quarterback that just made things work. This year, if you have a good defense, a good run game, I mean, you don't have to be Superman if you're Joey Aguilar.
Yeah.
Even Jake Merklinger, if it's him or if he has to come in, if there's two quarterbacks in one point in time, if you just do your job and
Just
everything
don't
else
screw it
around
up.
you, yeah,
Yeah.
is where it needs to be. I mean, that Tennessee went to the playoffs last year with that same model. Why not this year?
Yeah. And this year there's a lot of obviously, in my opinion, I think Gunnar Stockton is going to struggle. I think Gunnar Stockton is going to be a good quarterback next year. But by the time we play him, when it's his first road game ever, that I think he's going to struggle. And then you don't even know. I mean, obviously, I'm saying like we're not on here talking about our quarterback questions, but Alabama's got some questions at quarterback. Like there's a lot of teams that can be beat this year. Now there's a lot of teams that feels like Tennessee always just has one that they slip up on. And then I'm very high on Oklahoma and John Mateer and Jaden Knott. Like that's a very good football team, but there's a lot of teams on the schedule that you can beat. Now there's going to be some tough ones, but opposed to last year where it never really felt like you could just go out and to Georgia and win it. But I feel like every game on the schedule is very, very winnable.
Yeah, that's another good point I didn't bring up. I mean, the schedule, like for it to be an SEC schedule where it is not easy, it sets up really, really nice for you. Like, what do you kids say nowadays? Mid? I think Gunner Stockton is about as mid as they come.
Yeah.
Like, and you're right. Like first year road game, week 3 of the season. Even with that, like, I mean, that's quite a challenge because Tennessee's still very much in figure it out mode as well. So like
Yeah.
I'm not picking Tennessee to win that game, but I think Tennessee could steal a game in Tuscaloosa maybe. And I know that's a big ask. Like Tennessee hasn't won in Alabama since '03. Until Tennessee wins in the swamp, I'm never going to pick Tennessee to win in the
Yeah.
swamp.
Yeah.
So I don't care if that game's in November or not. But I think Tennessee can steal a game in Tuscaloosa. I mean, Ty Simpson, he's a veteran there, not necessarily in the system, but
Yeah.
career backup, and we'll see what happens. They've got good players, but man, Tennessee's played very, very well at Alabama with 2 different quarterbacks
Yeah.
over the last 4 years. I mean, Tennessee was up 20-7 and 23, just gave it away. So
Yeah.
you steal that game, that affords you to lose, to have a slip up game if you need. And I still think you're in position to make the playoffs. I've been very orange shaded sunglasses, which is very not like me all off season, but everybody's crapping on Tennessee. And I'm like, guys, this roster is so good. Like
Yeah.
you just have a few of these guys hit and just see what happens.
Well, that was a big segment there, and very good points by you, and I'm glad we got that out of the way. But kind of, we're talking about how good this team's going to be, and or how bad, or who's going to be good. But right now, in the month of June, it's all recruiting, and there's a lot. Tennessee just had a lot of big names on campus. I'm sure that you guys saw some of the stuff on social media. If not, just go look up Tennessee dancing recruiting video. You'll find them, people dancing down an orange red carpet or orange carpet, I guess you'd say. It looked like fun. And one of the big names on that carpet was Tristen Keys, the number one receiver in the country, committed to LSU, but there's some talks that he could be in flip mode for the Vols. And then another guy who is the number one running back in the country. Some people are saying that he is the best running back prospect, high school running back prospect since Bijan Robinson, Savion Hyder. Where do you think the Vols stand in terms of, flipping Keys, but then just landing Hyder?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tennessee's in great position. And, I see a lot of fans sometimes struggle with, oh, Tennessee just got a 3-star safety, or Tennessee just got a 3-star corner, or Tennessee got this guy, that guy. And I always say, I mean, the phrase stargazing, be careful with that. And plus, the staff might see something that we don't see. But even with that, you still got to win these share of big boy battles. Like you can't just be in them anymore. Like you got to win some. And Tennessee won some. David Sanders last year, Mike Matthews, Isaiah Campbell. I mean, so on and so forth, right? Tennessee's won some, but you got to win some this cycle. And like, for me, those are the 2 great examples right there. Like you win one of those, you get Braden Rouse here, you flip Hezekiah Harris. There's others obviously, but you got to win some of your share here. And so, for Tristen Keys, I'll start there. I mean, like regardless of who has this commitment on a certain day, you're gonna have to sweat that thing until signing day because I mean, there's a lot that's going into it from a name, image, and likeness perspective. I'm not saying that's everything, but it is a major key and component. I don't want to act like I'm a huge insider, but if he stays committed to LSU the whole entire way, I'll be surprised. I think that he'll flip somewhere or decommit and maybe stay kind of evaluating his options and all that. And then this is very much not over, but I think Tennessee's got a real chance to he can end up in the class. I think Kelsey Pope's done a really good job there. I think Tennessee's going to be very competitive in terms of making a deal for him. I think Tennessee's right there. I think Pope's done a really, really good job with that, and he's won some big boy battles at receiver as well. Again, I mentioned Mike Matthews. Savion Hyder, man, we'll see, man. Michigan, Tennessee, I think it's those two teams right now. There was a report from On3 earlier this week that said, reportedly he's got a deal lined up anywhere from like $600,000 to $800,000 as a true freshman. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't know how much Tennessee's going to, have on the table or whatever, but I do think Tennessee's very, very much in this one. My question's always like, I mean, it's kind of like the NFL model. I know it's a little bit different in college, but man, how much resources do you want to allocate to one player specifically? Like, take David Sanders, for instance. Tennessee paid him a lot of money. Sure. But you're paying a lot of money to a tackle. Look at
Yeah.
the NFL free agencies. Tackles get tons of money, right?
Yeah.
Running backs don't. Okay. Wide receivers do. So, like, Tristen Keys in this, but I'm not trying to talk down upon Savion Hyder because I do think it's a little bit different in the college game. But how comfortable are you spending all that much money on a running back? I don't know.
Yeah.
Those are questions that the staff, a general manager, would
Yeah.
need to answer. But to answer the question, I think Tennessee's in great spots with both those guys. Will they finish it out? We'll see. What's that look like a month or two from now? We'll see. But I do think it's an LSU Tennessee battle right now for Keys. I think it's a Michigan Tennessee battle for Savion Hyder. And I think Tennessee's done all it can to be in great position. Need to knock out of the ballpark this weekend with Hyder. But again, like, these guys have been on Tennessee's campus so many times. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily
What
that they're going to see
more?
anything different.
Yeah. 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 I think that they're in a good spot with both of them, but man, aside from where are they at, you just saying that they get them. Could you imagine the electric feel on Rocky Top if they get the number one quarterback, the number one running back, and the number one receiver in the country all on one team? I mean, that almost, I'm not saying that it's going to, but regardless of how this next year goes, like, just absolutely ecstatic for what's to come. I mean, Faison Brandon has been your guy for months and months, and he is killing it at the Elite 11 right now. And he is just all of all. He has stuck to his commitment the whole way. I'll knock on wood real quick to hope that he still does that. But I mean, he's been your guy. And I'm sure that he's out there helping recruit these guys because why would he not want to play with the number one running back and the number one receiver in the country? But I think they're in a good spot. But I'm just going to have a positive mind on it and just dream about the fact that Tennessee could end with the number one recruit for each position at that time. It's just it's a lot of for an off season that has been, whether you want to say it or not, it's been kind of down. I mean, it's been fun because there's been a lot to talk about in a sense, but I mean, you lost your starting quarterback. For a lot that's gone on, it's just a lot of optimism, in my opinion, for this next recruiting class.
No, it definitely is. And again, you're going to see this is when the run starts to happen, right? You got fall visits for game days, then you got junior days, then you got spring practices, then you got the A65 live, then you got OVs, and then after OVs, you kind of sit back. There's a dead period to sit back and like, all right, well, I want to get this done, before my senior season starts, and
Yeah.
you start seeing a little bit of a run here. So I'm excited to see who Tennessee wins. Again, about 20 OVs coming up this weekend, so that's going to be exciting. And I'll be intrigued to see kind of where Tennessee is maybe a couple months from now in terms of how many guys they have committed, who they have committed by kickoff.
Yeah. Well, again, I appreciate you, Eric Kane, for coming on the episode. Make sure you guys go check out his podcast. It's the best Tennessee podcast around, Locked On Vols, wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you want to go watch that or listen to that at. I appreciate you for coming on, man. Apologies for those technical difficulties there at the end of that interview. It was all but over. We were just thanking our friend Eric Kane for taking time out of his day to come onto the show. Again, make sure you guys go check out his channel or wherever you listen to your podcast at Locked On Vols. It is the best Tennessee podcast around here, and I really encourage you guys to go check that out. I appreciate you guys for joining me on this Friday edition of From the Bench Vols. The next two episodes will be pre-recorded, so hopefully, I hope that Tristen Keys or Savion Hyder commits. But if there is an event like that or a transfer or anything like that that happens, I won't be talking about it. Those episodes, like I said, will be pre-recorded as I will be on vacation in the Caribbean. So there will be episodes on Wednesday and Friday. They will just be pre-recorded. But I appreciate you guys for joining me today on this episode of From the Bench Vols. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and go Vols.